Greetings, this is Kiri Jones. Wanted to make a quick video dealing with my take on the economic and political scene. As many of you know, I am a financial professional and I am in the business, so I am a professional. On my day job, I spend a lot of time reading different news sources and Bloomberg and everybody and everything else. I voted for Donald J. Trump because while I thought that there was some risk in doing so, I believed in Trump's ability to do better on the economic and the business front than Hillary Rodham Clinton. And looking at a few of his cabinet picks, I think that we're in good hands. So firstly, looking at CNBC.com, the headline, Trump's Treasury pick says he wants to slash taxes across the board. So they go on to say that in line with President-elect Donald Trump's proposals, Steve Mnuchin told CNBC on Wednesday his focus as Treasury Secretary will be stimulating economic growth and creating jobs through tax reform. By cutting corporate taxes, we're going to create huge economic growth and we'll have huge personal income. Mnuchin told Squawk Box, confirming he has been tapped for Treasury Secretary. Reducing the corporate tax rate from 30% to 15% will be a major goal for the Trump administration, the former Wall Street executive said. Now, he used to work at Goldman, that financial firm that's a vampire squid on the face of humanity. But we'll give him a pass on that. He goes on to say our most important priority is sustained economic growth, and I think that we can absolutely get to sustain 3 to 4% GDP, and that is absolutely critical for the country, Mnuchin said. To get there, our number one priority is tax reform. This will be the largest tax change since President Ronald Reagan. In addition, he wants to simplify taxes for the average citizen. Taxes are way too complicated and people spend way too much time worrying about ways to get them lower, he said. Mnuchin was Trump's campaign finance chairman during the election. Previously, he was chairman of Dune Capital Management and worked at Goldman Sachs and the Soros Fund Management. He also co-founded One West Bank Group. Dune Capital funded Hollywood films including Avatar. So you have someone that has deep connections to Wall Street, deep connections to Hollywood liberal elite. Worked for the Soros funds of the infamous George Soros fame. But I think this shows that Trump is serious about getting stuff done, because he could have tapped anybody for that post, but he chose someone that has real world business and financial knowledge and connections. So I think this is a good pick on Trump's part. What's really interesting to me, he picked, looking at CNBC again, Trump's commerce pick Wilbur Ross, a really good choice, former Commerce Secretary says. Billionaire Wilbur Ross is a really good choice to head the Commerce Department, former Commerce Secretary Bill Daley told CNBC on Wednesday. For one, Ross is extremely close to President-elect Donald Trump, and that's important for a cabinet position, he said in an interview with Closing Bell. Plus, he's been in multiple different industries, businesses, has seen the good and bad of a lot of different industries and the difficulties internationally. And he's been a strong advocate for a different trade policy, said Daley, who served as Commerce Secretary under President Bill Clinton. On Wednesday, Trump tapped Ross for the position. Ross, 78, has been a staunch supporter of Trump and is one of his economic advisors. Daley said Ross would be an important senior member of the president's economic team and will be listened to when he's part of economic discussions. Ross, who holds the private equity firm W.L. Ross & Company, told CNBC on Wednesday he wants to overhaul dumb trade deals the United States has with countries around the world. He also favors bilateral agreements with trade partners rather than regional pacts. So again, deep experience, someone who's really close to President Trump, somebody who has real world financial knowledge. Now, there is a sense that I've gotten over the years I've been in the business, that what's good for Wall Street is not always good for the country, and what's good for Main Street is not always good for Wall Street. So I get that. Some people would have reservations about these picks, but I mean, this shows me that he's really serious about shaking things up. And quite frankly, I think the risk, so as I talk to my clients, they ask me where do I think things are headed, I personally feel that the risk is now to the upside. We could see wage inflation, we could see higher markets, we could see higher interest rates, we could see a stronger dollar, so every dollar that you spend could go further. I think there could be inflation before we know it. There could be serious growth. I think the risk now is that the economy outperforms expectations. So if you are invested in various investments, I would check with your tax advisor and your investment advisor to see if your portfolio is up to date. I would have some exposure. For example, one proposal that has been talked about is lowering corporate tax rates and allowing some cash to come back from overseas where companies have put away a lot of money. They don't want to bring it home because it would get taxed a lot under their current tax policy. But if Trump succeeds in lowering that tax rate for that money, then you could see a rush of money going into financial assets of various kinds. So what I would seriously suggest to all of my listeners is to reach out to a financial advisor that you trust, have a really good conversation, and get your investment started. Get your savings together, pay down debt, because if you have variable interest rate debt instruments, credit cards, things like that, we could see rates move higher in the near future, so you don't want to pay all that extra interest. Looking at the US 10-year Treasury yield, if you look at this chart from October all the way up until present, yields have moved up significantly. So in the bond world, when yields move higher, the bond principal prices fall. And then this should, if it continues, translate to better returns on your savings and your checking accounts, but it's also going to make debt costs more. So if you have any type of high interest debt, you want to pay that off as soon as you can. If you have any kind of variable rate, anything, you want to see what you can do to either consolidate it to fix your rate or to pay it off. I mean, Ebony Men should be liquid anyway. The goal should be to pay off whatever debt you have as quickly as possible if we're talking about high interest debt such as credit cards and loans and things like that. Most importantly, Ebony Men should have a trusted financial advisor who can give them specific guidance for their situation to help them stack chips for a brighter day. Looking forward, what I have been watching is the velocity of money. If we look at the St. Louis Fed, they put out a M2 money stock. So basically the velocity of money deals with how many dollars change hands. How quickly does money circulate in the economy? As of November 29th, the velocity of money is way down compared to prior years. But when we start to see that turn, when we start to see that velocity of money accelerate, then you can be pretty sure that inflation isn't too far behind. Another thing I like to look at is bank lending. So according to PalmBeachPost.com, say what? Bank lending rises to an all-time high. The popular picture of bankers has them hunkered down in their vaults, still smarting from the Great Recession, weighed down by a raft of regulations. In fact, U.S. banks are lending more than ever, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation said Tuesday. Lending rose to an all-time high, with total lending reaching more than $9 trillion in the third quarter, said James Chesson, chief economist of the American Bankers Association. Velocity of money is how quickly is money moving through the economy, but another indicator of health and activity is bank lending. So if banks are lending at an all-time high, then basically we're seeing more money being lent into existence, because remember, we live under a debt-based system, and so as banks lend, it expands the money supply. You have more money chasing a fixed number of goods, which leads to inflation. Now, it may not happen today, it may not happen tomorrow. In some sectors, we could probably say already have inflation, such as healthcare, education costs, things like that. But I think we're going to see real inflation hit fairly soon, assuming that we don't have a crisis and or a trade war. If we have either of those, of course, all bets are off. So, one other thing I wanted to cover were two things. So if we look at zerohedge.com, they say that Goldman raises S&P target to 2,400 on Trump hope. They say that today, however, with oil soaring and the S&P at all-time highs, he, meaning strategist David Kostin with Goldman, finally threw in the towel as a result of the Trump victory. And in a report, Kostin writes that the Trump hope will dominate through first quarter 2017. S&P 500 climbs by 9% to 2,400. However, at that point, less than expected tax cuts and higher inflation and interest rates will limit both upward earnings per share revisions and any PE multiple expansion. The S&P 500 will end next year at 2,300, reflecting a price gain of 5% and a total return of 7%, including dividends. So check that out. This is just one man's opinion, one analyst's opinion at Goldman. But again, I think that the risk, not only for markets, but for you, Ebony Man, and your pocketbooks, the risk is the economy outperforms. I think all the conditions are there for you to get a lot of bread in your pocket in a hurry. I go around town, I see all kinds of businesses hiring. They can't find enough workers. So if you're in a position of maximum safety advantage, you got a good wife, good woman, good home, all that kind of stuff, make that money. You know, if you're single, you're MGTOW, you're ITMOR, go to trade school, get your certifications, get your education, go out there and make money. I think that 2017, barring any unforeseen disasters, is going to be a very good year to build wealth, to pay off debt, and to talk to a financial advisor of your choice and get your portfolio together, get your portfolio right. Get some exposure to all of this gain. Because remember, the system is based upon debt, and when money gets lent, at least for the moment anyway, a lot of that has gone to financial assets. But I think we'll also see more money in the form of wages to workers, in form of spending by corporations. We'll see less of a financialization. I think we'll see more real world prosperity, and that's nothing but good for Ebony Man. And before I go, there is a bright side. Now, CNBC.com talks about middle class tax cuts. The headline is, for some in middle class, Trump plan would mean tax increase. But the devil is in the details. They say that the tax hikes that would hit single parents and large families would result from Trump's plan to eliminate the personal exemption and the head of household filing status. These features of the tax code have enabled many Americans to reduce their taxable income. Even better, from the standpoint of Ebony Men against feminism and against government-sponsored fuckery, his other proposed tax changes would benefit middle and lower income Americans, but they wouldn't be enough to offset those modifications. If you're a low or moderate income single parent, You're going to get hurt, said Bob Williams, a fellow at the Tax Policy Center. This is nothing but a good thing. We have many single mothers of various ethnicities. Most of these single mothers are doing this because they are subsidized by Big Daddy government. This is just one way, like Trump talked about in his New Deal for Black America, which I'll link in the description box. He said we're going to strengthen so-called black families. How do you do that? This is one way. If you make it more costly to be a single mother, then you're either, if you're a single mother, you're either going to try to find somebody to help share the load, so be careful, or it's going to help discourage the high rates of single motherhood that we see, especially in the so-called black community. Now, the bill hasn't passed yet. We don't know what the tax changes are going to be. Maybe the single mother hurting provision will never make it. We don't know yet. But I mean, this is the kind of thinking that, quite frankly, ebony men need to see. Because if you are an educated, be it the trades or be it, college educated, you don't have many bills, you have the skills to pay the bills, and you have people banging down your door trying to give you a job and trying to give you money, it's going to be a good time. It's going to be, we might as well break out our bling bling again. Maybe I'm being too optimistic. We'll see what happens. I'm a bit reserved, but all in all, I like what I'm seeing. I'm more giddy about the economy than I've been in quite some time. And I think that this is a perfect opportunity if you get yourself together, get rid of the debt, see a financial advisor, talk about your situation, and make plans and make moves. Maybe it's time to start a business. Maybe it's time to, do a side hustle. I think the income is finally going to materialize next year. I've been saying in a few videos past that we haven't had much wage growth, but I think that we're going to get it, barring any kind of crisis or barring a trade war, which the people that President-elect Trump has selected, I think, will be shrewd negotiators. And I think we're going to get a win-win situation, both for the country and for ebony men in particular. So only time will tell if my commentary is accurate, but these are my thoughts. Thank you for listening. I am Kiri Jones. Nimpo Ikan.
I'm a charge you for real, so don't get it twisted. I'm the